Thank God our show Real Housewives of Potomac is back. I did not enjoy that week-long break that Bravo put us on. I do not know why we did not have an episode last week, but I'm very excited about the girls returning. This was another good episode. I definitely enjoyed it. I was irritated with how long it took us to get to Colorado. I do blame how they edited the previews. Based off the previews, I expected we'd start the episode with them at the airport, on their way to the airport, or in Colorado already. So once we're getting all these scenes still in Maryland, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what is happening here? We got a lot of scenes where it felt like they filmed some stuff and really didn't know where to insert it. So we got some stuff with Tia. We saw Wendy giving a commencement speech. We had Ashley and her family. And my only issue with Ashley's scenes, I realized as I was watching it, because they last so long, her family isn't that charismatic. We've seen some really charismatic and funny and engaging families. I have nothing against them, but I just don't care about watching her scenes because we're watching a storyline about her stepfather that we've heard for the last 10 years at this point. And I would feel different if we got like a really charismatic family that's attached to it. Like Tia's family is funny. Gizelle's daughters are really funny. I always enjoy their scenes. We don't really get that with Ashley's family. So it just feels like, why are we watching this? But regardless, I was happy that at least if we're not in Colorado, we got to see the scene with Monique at her event. Every time Monique Samuels is on our screen, she is beating it over our heads that she has changed and healed and grown. But why would you be making jokes about how you physically attack someone if you've healed and changed and grown so much? It's not adding up for me. I'm always very suspicious of people who have to announce to us what they are. You have to tell me you're a good person. You have to tell me about all your good qualities. So I'm very suspicious that Monique has to constantly tell us that she's healed, that she's not the same person she used to be, that she doesn't care about her image anymore. And I don't believe her. I don't believe anything she's saying. What is consistent about Monique is she is not good at taking accountability. That's a common trend with a lot of these ladies. But Monique, on the times that she was on Potomac, did not take accountability, especially when it came to the Candace fight, when she did attack Candace. And I still see that trend with her. It's still there for me. She wrote a whole book to tell us about how much she's healed. I don't believe it. I don't believe she would be on this show if she truly was healed and she no longer cared so much about her image. I do believe she's on this show still to correct her image. She did Love and Marriage DC for the same reason. That obviously did not work. It really made her look worse. And now she's back on Potomac trying to sell us her book about how much she's healed. That's also why I think she's back on the show and why she made up with Gizelle is she wants this moment to get airtime to advertise her book. So it's incredibly ironic that she said maybe the way that we perceive ourselves is not how others see us. And I'm like, yes, you're the main one. Like Monique is a perfect example of the way she sees herself is not the way that others see her. And I do find that Monique really lacks self-awareness. Like there's a big disconnect between how Monique thinks she's coming across and how people perceive Monique. I also laughed at how long-winded she was when she was talking about her book. That to me is very typical Monique because she is not someone who can accept critiques or edits. She always thinks she's right. We saw that for the years she was on Potomac. I still see that now where Monique cannot listen to other people and take their advice or redirection because she doesn't believe anybody knows better than her. And I do question if Monique wants to return to Potomac next season full time. I'm getting that vibe, interestingly enough. On the after show, she's paired with Ashley and she was introduced this season as Ashley's friend. And teaming up and being Ashley's quote unquote friend is not a good idea. Ashley is a friend to no one. And we saw that when Monique was on the seasons prior with Ashley. So I definitely question her thought process on teaming up with Ashley. But ultimately, I do think she's closer to Ashley now because she does want to get back on the show and Ashley is her way in. Wendy is having her very best season this year, but the closer she gets to Ashley and Gizelle, the less and less I like and respect her. The core problem is that Wendy wants to be friends with Gizelle and Ashley. And I find that ludicrous, especially considering how poorly Gizelle treated her when she's around them. And you can see this in this most recent episode. Wendy is almost giddy. She seems very happy to be around them. We've now seen quite a few scenes with just the three of them hanging out, socializing, and it doesn't seem like anyone's twisting Wendy's arm to be there. Wendy seems to be enjoying herself and spending time with those. She genuinely seems to like them and want to be around them. And it does really make me question thought process on that. I do have a few theories. One is we have seen now more with her mom and her sister, and she talked about feeling ostracized from her mom and her sister because those two seem to be much closer than she is. And she often feels like they team up against her. I do wonder if that situation, her family has made her crave external validation. And if it's also set her up with this dynamic where she's comfortable being mistreated by people, in particular women. Experiences we have with our parents and with with our family do make a big impact on how we show up in the world. And if Wendy is used to having a relationship with her mother and her sister where she's disrespected, I can see why Ashley and Gizelle don't bother her. I know that they made peace and Gizelle apologized, allegedly, but you can be cool with someone and not be so giddy to be around them. It's okay if Wendy makes peace with those two and she moves on. You can forgive, but you should never forget. And it feels like she's just forgotten. So I can't help but think about what we saw in the last couple of episodes with her mom and her sister. That is this a dynamic that Wendy is comfortable with? Is Wendy comfortable being disrespected by women? I also question why Wendy defends them. Going back to my earlier point, maybe you get over things, you move on, but you're defending them. There's a line. Like, you could be cool with someone and not stick up for them. When she was talking to Angel at Monique's event and telling Angel to get over it, it felt like she was defending Ashley and Gizelle instead of addressing like their poor behavior that she herself has suffered. She's telling Angel, who you could argue is a victim, to like get over it and accept it. And I don't understand why she's speaking up for them. And dare I say, she speaks up for them more than she speaks up for Stacey. I also find that she is too laid back when it comes to Gizelle and Ashley's antics, in particular Gizelle. So in a scene that we saw a few episodes ago when the three of them were hanging out and Gizelle makes up a lie on the spot about Eddie, Wendy says she knows that Gizelle was lying, so she laughed about it. But why are you laughing? I don't understand why a woman we know has lied is now lying on your husband and you're laughing about it. I just really do question Wendy and why she's able to laugh at these things. Like, why does she not have more self-respect? The other issue I have with Wendy is she does have this double standard when it comes to Gizelle versus the other women. So in this episode, we see Angel try to make peace with her. I'm not saying that Angel deserved forgiveness in that moment, but I did find it interesting that Wendy expressed in her confessional that she was not going to forgive her, be cool with her, yet she's very friendly now with Gizelle, despite what she's done. Even with Keiarna, her and Keiarna still have this beef that she seems unwilling to move past. And then with Stacey, her and Stacey are friends, but we've seen Wendy take shots at Stacey this season, even though Stacey is supposed to be her quote unquote friend. In the preview for the next episode, she takes a shot at Stacey for not wanting to call TJ, but Stacey tells Angel to call this realtor. I haven't seen Wendy take any shots at Gizelle this season, yet she takes shots at Stacey for no real reason. So I don't understand why she gives Gizelle more grace than other girls in the group that have done way less to her. But ultimately, my biggest issue with how I'm seeing Wendy approach Ashley and Gizelle, and why it actually bothers me on like a deeper level, it feels very unequal, the relationship dynamic between those three. She gave Angel this advice when it comes to Ashley and Gizelle, basically saying, just let it roll off your back. Get over it, move on from it, don't take it too seriously, which is a great housewife skill. It is very important that when we have this petty, meaningless drama, that you got to be able to move on, especially if you want to be on the show for multiple seasons. You can't stay mad about something forever. You got to get over it. And if you can't, you shouldn't be on the show. However, it feels like the women, when they deal with Ashley and Gizelle, have to get over big things. Some of the stuff they've done and said are not minor, petty things. I think them saying Angel was evicted is a big deal. Gizelle saying Stacey can't be trusted around husbands and children is a big deal. What Gizelle said about Chris Bassett in season 7 is a big deal. These aren't petty housewife arguments that you should get over in 2 or 3 months or after a whole season. These seem like more substantial, impactful, and detrimental comments and things they say. Even Ashley saying Bobby has a temper on him. Like, come on. Like, the things that you have to get over with Ashley and Gizelle are so much bigger than the things you have to get over with other housewives. Getting over the catfish comment, that's not a big deal. They should get over that. But calling me a catfish is not equivalent to telling people I got evicted. That's not the same. And from all the times that we've seen Wendy on the show, and when we saw Wendy really get picked on hard by Gizelle, Robin, Mia, and at times Ashley, that never felt equal. It did not feel like it was equal peers going at each other. At this point, I read Wendy as someone that has sacrificed a level of self-respect to stay on the show, to have access to the show, to have access to the money that comes with the show, to have access to the platform that comes with the show. And she recognizes, rightfully so, that if you want to be on the show, you have to put up with those two, especially Gizelle, because I don't think Gizelle is going anywhere anytime soon. In order to be friends with Gizelle, you have to put your self-respect to the side. It is impossible, I think, to be close with her and maintain a level of self-respect and being self-directed. I don't know if she would allow that from the women that she's friends with on this show. It feels like she's the opposite of Candace, who says, I'm not putting up with this. Like, this is not what I envisioned for myself. I have too much respect. And she left. Wendy's the exact opposite, where Wendy says, I'm going to get along. I'm going to be okay with this. I'm going to accept this. I'm going to let the things they say, I'm not going to let them get to me that much. And I just have a hard time respecting that. I don't have the longest memory, but it is hard for me to watch the show and watch their interactions when I think about how dark things got just a few years ago with them. And if I have a hard time getting over it, I don't see how Wendy has gotten over it, but I do believe she gets over it because of the money, the access, the platform, the fame that comes with being on the show. And she recognizes, I need to get along with Gizelle and be on her good side if I want to be on the show and have an easier experience. Keiarna shade to Wendy about fake bags was well timed. Keiarna's shade to Wendy about fake bags was well said and well timed, and I'm so happy the editors kept that in the episode. And the more that I hear about Keiarna and Wendy's feud, I am team no one in this disagreement. Keiarna's fake bag insult was perfectly timed, and I know that Bravo kept that in because of Wendy's arrest. I mean, all of these micro moments are building and building and building towards Wendy's arrest, and there has been some discussion since Wendy got arrested about some of the bags. She did list multiple high-end luxury handbags that were stolen, and some people online were saying like she lists these bags as stolen, but they were fake. So listen, I don't know whose bags were real or fake, but it was really good shade. I did not expect that from Keiarna. We haven't really seen that from her this much this season. She hasn't been that great at the verbal arguments, but the fake bag comment was very cute. When it comes to their disagreement, I believe they are both telling the truth. Wendy says Keiarna only has issues when they're filming, which is valid. And then Keiarna says that I don't really hear from Wendy when we're not filming. When it comes to Keiarna's comment, I do believe Wendy has adapted Gizelle's approach, and she really treats this show like a job, and she is not here to make close friendships, and Keiarna did not understand that. So she was surprised when she didn't hear from Wendy that much, or they weren't that close when cameras weren't up. And I also believe Wendy and understand her issue, which is, why are you now making this an issue because cameras are up? You had all these months to tell me when we weren't filming that you want to hear from me more, and you never expressed it. So in that regard, Keiarna should have confronted the issue. Like, Wendy is not a mind reader. If you want to be closer to me, express that. If you want to hear from me more, if you want to hang out, invite me out. Like, let's do it. I also believe that this is a job ultimately for a lot of people. I myself am not as close to my coworkers when I leave a workplace. I know in this instance, Keiarna and Wendy didn't quit the show, but I get it where I'm not filming. We're only friends because of this show. It's not that I'm going to forget about you, but I am going to distance myself. Also, because I would expect sometimes the women feel like they need a break from each other. You spend so much time together filming, and you just feel like I need to disconnect from being on TV, being on the show right now. I don't necessarily see that as anything nefarious, or Wendy is being dishonest, or she's not actually interested in being in a friendship with Keiarna. I definitely could see that Wendy just needs a break sometimes from the show. I think if I was on the show, I'd feel the exact same way. But Keiarna is clearly reading into this, oh, Wendy's being fake. Wendy doesn't even want to be my friend. I don't hear from her when we're not filming. This seems like a hard lesson for a lot of the housewives. This is not a new issue where one housewife typically that's newer is upset that she doesn't hear from the girl she got really close to when they filmed because she doesn't recognize as a new person, this is how it goes. Like, this is a TV show, this is a job. And when I'm not working, I need some space from my coworkers. So I am team no one in this feud. I understand where both of them are coming from. And I also think both of them have some fakeness in how they approach each other. We are finally seeing the angel that we have been waiting to see for 13 episodes. It only took her 13 episodes, but she got there. From disinviting Ashley to giving Gizelle and Ashley the worst room. And then at the end, demanding everybody sit down and talk about it before we move forward with the trip, and not letting those girls in her home. She was on point with that. That is what we want to see. This is giving Housewife. This episode may help her get a second season. I loved Angel's housewife energy. From being at Monique's event and having this very direct confrontation with Ashley and uninviting her, I loved it. I loved it. I ate it up. I was so happy when she did that. And she gagged Ashley. Ashley was gagged. She didn't expect that. Ashley, you can tell, did not expect that. And you can tell it bothered her because she wanted to be on this trip to get her screen time. I could tell from Ashley's face, she was a little concerned. She was a little concerned in that moment. The punishment she gave Gizelle and Ashley was very appropriate. They deserve that. Now, obviously, Gizelle thinks they did nothing wrong, but they have been nasty to her. If you want to catch an attitude with me a few days before my trip, you're going to get it. Like, if you're going to be nasty, do that weeks in advance so I can forget about it. But if you're going to be nasty to me before my trip and it's recent in my memory, there's no way. And we all know that the only reason Ashley and Gizelle came is because it's a production. We haven't seen housewife shows in years where they get to actually uninvite cast members, especially the two OGs on the cast. We know they're coming, but I love that Angel did it anyways. I know that she was forced to let those two come, but I love that Angel did it anyways and uninvited Ashley. I appreciated her using her power in that moment, because in that moment, her power was this trip. I mean, that's the only real power she has over those two. And it was very satisfying to see her direct her anger at the right people. For so long, we've seen her be upset with Wendy, and anger did not match the offense. Whereas with Ashley and Gizelle, it felt like, okay, girl, why aren't they getting any heat? So I can appreciate now that she is directing her anger towards those two, because that feels way more appropriate. She keeps this energy and she can bring some of this to the reunion. This does help her season 11. My only concern is, based off this episode and even the preview for the next episode, I don't want to see them gang up on Angel next season. They've done the Stacey takedown that didn't work. I don't want to see Gizelle, Ashley, and potentially Wendy all focusing and trying to take down Angel. That's not interesting to me. But the one issue I think Angel has is Angel takes to heart what these women say. She does not have thick skin. Now, maybe this is because this is her first season. She's still learning. But what Wendy said, I see what Wendy said. I see it two different ways. I understand what she's saying, but I don't believe that it's fair to make these new housewives deal with women like Gizelle and Ashley who take things really, really low into the gutter, telling them to just get over it, which is essentially what Wendy was saying. Is overall, Angel is too sensitive, cares too much about what these women think of her. She cares too much about how they view her. And she even said this in the after show that for this trip, she really wanted the women to come to Colorado and see the real Angel and see a different side of her. That's the problem. You need to get over that. You need to stop having this focus and need for the women to see you a certain way, which leads me to believe you want these women to like you. Do not control how people view us. It's not something that we can dictate. That's not between us. That's none of my business how you view me. And Angel is overly concerned in making it her business how these women view her, and that is to her detriment. Because none of us can control how people view us, but she especially can't control Gizelle and Ashley. And even further, Gizelle and Ashley may think great things about you and still treat you like trash. So I do get the sense that from everything we've seen in the after show, Angel's focus is so much on, I want these women to see me a certain way and think highly of me. And she ain't gonna get that. It's just not gonna happen, and she needs to get over it. Production was so shady with that iPhone photo showing us it. I'm pretty sure that that is the contact card Angel set on her iPhone, which means that whenever you get Angel's number and save it, that is the photo she's choosing for you to see. I don't think Stacey saved that in her phone. Again, the photo is very filtered and edited. Like, Angel's a beautiful woman, but that photo is not accurate and goes back to the earlier point. She's very focused on how she's perceived and viewed, which leads her to post inaccurate photos online and put them as her calling card on her phone. But she does have this need to tightly control her image, which is really hard to do on a show like this. The other thing related to that is, I found her comments about Bobby to be very telling, and I agree with the connection that Monique made. Monique has talked about this, as have other wags of athletes, that when you're married to an athlete who is actively playing, your world does revolve around them and their schedule and their job, because so much of the decisions you make in that relationship and for the family are about what's happening with them and how do we make things work and be easy for them. So if your partner is playing on Christmas and they're playing out of town on the road for Christmas, it's about, well, how do we get a tree set up in the hotel? How do we get the kids there? How do we get their gifts there? Everything revolves around how do we support this athlete that I'm married to or dating to make things comfortable for them. So it did stand out to me that what Angel implies is that Bobby was stretching himself to support Angel. And that's also a belief I've had. My theory about Angel and Bobby has been they moved back for the show. Angel does have ties here. Angel may have been interested in coming back to Maryland anyways, but it's ultimately the catalyst was being on this TV show. And that this may be one of the first times they've done anything strictly for Angel. If they moved before for Bobby's career, that's very much within the realm of normalcy for athletes' wives and their families. You get the sense that this is maybe the first time Bobby has been asked to do things that he wasn't excited about doing and did not want to do just to support Angel and her aspirations and her career. And that's a new dynamic for them, and it's straining things between them. Bobby did not seem that happy in Maryland, and the way he talks about Colorado, it sounds like it's his oasis, like he loves being there. So I can easily see that for Bobby, he feels like, I'm doing this for you and I'm not happy about it. In addition to the fact that I'm sure he sees Angel film this show for 2 or 3 months and be stressed and be upset and be frustrated with what's happening, because we see that on the TV show. I'm sure it's affecting her mood at home. So it probably even adds to his perspective of, I'm unhappy with this. Why are we even doing this? I peeped that as soon as Angel made that comment. And then I fully agreed with Monique, was like, this sounds similar, because it does. Like, if you've ever listened to other ex-partners of athletes, it's a very common retort and issue. I even will say Tom Brady and Gizelle. It's this dynamic of everything revolves around you, your needs, your wants, your desires, and we all acquiesce to it. And the first time I say, especially now that you're retired, hey, I need this, I want this, it becomes an issue. So that is another reason why seeing Angel on this show for a second season, I know before I said she doesn't need to come back, but there is an interesting dynamic there with her husband, Bobby. And it's the fact that if Angel can keep this energy up and does not let these women bully and haze her, let's see how the reunion goes, but I'm not turned off by Angel coming back for another season. Angel is hosting this Colorado trip, and between the planning, the distance, the rental, and the lack of communication, this trip was a mess. And I don't fault the women for being upset about how all of this played out. There were multiple things that went wrong with this trip, and I'm basing this off of episode 13, but also what I saw in the after show. The first is, Angel should not have chosen a house 1 hour away from her home. If this is meant to be a girls' trip, a bonding weekend, I understand why the women were split up if Angel cannot find a big enough home, but you need to make sure those homes are close together, preferably in the same neighborhood. If that's not possible, no more than 10 or 15 minutes away. An hour is crazy. The women on the after show talked about the fact that Angel didn't communicate any plans in advance. They all showed up and everything was a surprise. That's an issue. Angel should have let them know, here's who's staying with me, here's who's staying here. I still don't agree with how she handled the accommodations, but if she at least told them, that would have come across totally differently. All she had to say is, here's what's happening. You guys are an hour away. It feels different when someone tells you in advance when you're at home in a good space versus I've had a long travel day. These women went from Maryland to Colorado. They're probably tired. And now you're telling me about these accommodations that don't make any sense to me. On top of the fact that the house she chose aesthetically wasn't that nice. Then we do see in the preview for the next episode, the house has some issues. The water isn't working. All the women were talking about how bad it was waking up that morning. As someone that is playing multiple group trips with as many as 8 girls in a group, finding homes to accommodate a large group like that is hard, especially when it's not couples. So 8 people versus 4 couples, or if it's not 4 adults and 4 children. A lot of these homes, it's really hard to find a home with 6, 7, or 8 bedrooms. And even if you do find them, sometimes the bedrooms are bunk beds or they're single beds or twin beds, obviously for children. Not super easy. Unless you're staying in the Caribbean or you're getting a villa, it can be really hard to find accommodations for a large group like that. So I fully understand the limitation and challenges that Angel had, because she talks about in the after show that the plans kept changing, that this was initially going to be a couples trip, but Tia's husband dropped out and could not go. We know that Gizelle and Ashley didn't have anyone to go. I'm betting Timo wasn't going with Stacey, because we know Timo wasn't doing no group trip, no couples trip with them. So Angel says once Tia's husband dropped out, she decided to make it just a girls trip. So the implication is that the plans change, hence why the accommodations didn't work. But if you listen to her, it doesn't even sound like that. She was trying to explain how the house that she got would have worked better if it was with couples, but I don't really understand that. Like, she never at any point said we had to change the rental at the last minute. She just says it went from a couples trip to a girls trip, and that was a part of the issues, but that is not adding up. The other thing she talks about is it was like peak travel season, so supply for adequate size rental homes was low. I think they would have had that problem whether it was a girls trip or a couples trip, because how would having men there have helped? That would have made the issue worse. If the home already doesn't really fit the group that well, I don't blame her at all for not wanting the women, certain women, to be in her home. We also don't know if her home was big enough to accommodate them. It was 7 women. I don't know if she had enough bedrooms. So there isn't an issue with not having them stay in her home. Angel still should have, in my opinion, she should have just rented 2 homes that are close to each other and split the group in half. There were 7 women on this trip, 7 or 8, split the group in half. But I definitely understand the perspective of, wait, why does Tia and Kay get to stay with you an hour away and then we're here by ourselves? It didn't really make sense. It didn't feel like she was trying to be a part of the group. It felt like she was doing this begrudgingly. And I did get that sense because it seemed like Angel was disappointed that it could not be a couples trip, because that's what she really had her heart set on. So that seemed like a part of the issue. Based off Ashley and Gizelle's reaction to not being invited to Angel's home, I can tell they had plans to weaponize that experience against Angel, and they were really upset that Angel messed up their plans. I do have 2 theories about why Angel and Gizelle were so upset, though, about not going to Angel's home. My first theory is Ashley and Gizelle were ready to go to Angel's home and critique it and talk mess about it. They would have been very quick to point out anything that wasn't luxurious or nice enough, anything that was cheap. I believe they were going there with negative intentions. They were itching to see her home and find something to use to call Angel broke. 1000% those ladies wanted to call Angel broke, and that was one of their main motivations to see her home, is to have ammo to use against her. And I also question if they were going to use it to imply, again, that Colorado was her home and not Maryland. Like, I felt like they would go in her home and point things out, like, you look settled here, or, you know, why do you have this if you plan to come to Maryland? Like, I do feel they were going to go in her home and build a narrative against her. And the second reason is, I do believe in the case of Gizelle, having the women separated that way lessened some of her control. So Candace did an episode of her podcast where she talked about one of her first seasons that they went on a group trip, and that she was talking about how Karen was her mentor, and that the first morning she slept in and Karen came to her and woke her up and was like, you need to get up. Like, before we start filming, all the girls get together. So it implies that all the girls get together and I guess talk about the day and what they're going to film and what's going to happen even before production gets there. And if Karen was getting Candace up to go do that, I'm sure that is something they they always do. Like, that is just the routine for them. And I'm sure Gizelle is someone who I find is very controlling and always likes to be able to dictate how things go. By having the girls split up this way and being an hour apart, you lose that opportunity. There's no pre-planning and discussion to all kind of get on the same page. And I would bet that that is something that really bothers Gizelle, because Gizelle does not like to be in unexpected situations. Like, she wants to always know how things are going to go to ensure it goes the way that she desires. Let's talk about this eviction rumor and storyline that Ashley, Gizelle, and now Wendy are trying to push on Angel. Why it doesn't make any sense and why I'm over it. Angel was not evicted. We've talked about this. Eviction, the words mean things. That is not the correct word. Angel was not kicked out. Her booking ended. For all intents and purposes, she booked it on Vrbo or Airbnb and it ended. But it's clear they want to frame it like Angel is broke or that she lives above her means. So let's talk about what happens in the most recent episode, but also what we see in the 5-minute preview for next week's episode. So after they have this whole dust up in episode 13, and Angel says, let's talk about it because we're not going further until we put it on this table. Ashley and Gizelle are implying that, yeah, we have proof, or we have tea that proves that you actually were evicted. So when Angel says, tell me what you know, Ashley and Gizelle don't say anything, and they say it's not my business to tell, or it's not my gossip to tell. And then Wendy speaks. So I guess they got it from Wendy. So Wendy shares this story about the realtor that we heard Wendy tell Ashley and Gizelle in a prior episode, but she changes a key detail, and that's an issue. So Wendy says she knows some realtor in the community that says Angel came to her and said, I want to rent a home for $1,000. $1,000. I want to rent a home for $1,000 in the year 2025 in one of the most expensive zip codes in America. I want to rent a multi-family home for $1,000 because that's all I got to spend. And the realtor implies that Angel is broke, or that she's cheap, that she's living above her means. I don't know what the implication is here, and that she wanted the home to look nicer than what it is. My first issue is that when Wendy first tells this story to Ashley and Gizelle, she didn't say $1,000. She said $2,000 or $3,000. It's now become $1,000. So baby, which number is it, Wendy? Because that. First of all three numbers are absurd given the facts of the home that we know Angel's looking for, where she's looking for it, and the size of home that she needs. But I already don't believe you because you can't even get the story straight. But these numbers are absurd. I'm from a small southern town, and I can tell you, you can't rent an apartment for $1,000, let alone a house in an expensive area like Angel's looking. Like, be for real. So why Gizelle, Wendy, and Ashley would even repeat this is so silly to me. Like, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 is a silly number. I used to live in the DMV area. I lived in Washington, D.C. Nice apartments, 1 bedrooms is $3,000 a month. You trying to rent a home in Potomac, Chevy Chase? That's $2,000 or $3,000 is such a laughable number. In addition to the fact that y'all have seen the house she is renting, y'all know that's not a $2,000, $3,000, or $1,000 home. So this idea that she went to a realtor and said that, but then ended up something more expensive, it does not add up. The other thing is, what I do believe could have happened is Angel went to a realtor and said, girl, I need a nice house that looks like it's worth $15,000, but I don't want to pay that much. There's nothing wrong with being frugal. Okay, there's nothing wrong with good money management. And Wendy, you need to sit this one out with what we know now. So that's what I think. I just think that Angel went to the realtor and was saying, I got a budget and I don't want to go crazy, but I want the home to look nice because I'm filming a TV show. That's not absurd to me. But it is absurd that they're trying to bring this story as if it means anything, because they don't make this connection explicitly, meaning Wendy, Ashley, and Gizelle never explain how this justifies that Angel was evicted. But I can only believe that the connection they're making is that Angel and Bobby couldn't really afford the home they're renting, and that's why they got evicted. They couldn't make the payment and got kicked out, but they're not clear. I don't want to make that argument for them. If they want to bring this to the show and expose Angel, they need to make their story clear. Why are we letting them tell this vague story that doesn't connect to anything very clearly? So how does looking for an affordable home equal eviction? The connection is not connecting for me here. They are really just jumping to conclusions, and they're making some big assumptions here. I do believe their real motive is, I think those three are envious. I believe that they are envious of Angel's money and the access she has to money. There are separate issues that they can have with Angel, and Wendy is fully justified in some of the prior issues with how Angel came at Wendy. I do believe that Ashley, Gizelle, and Wendy are jealous and envious of Angel's money, and that's why they're on this whole kick of making this about you're evicted and you were trying to find some cheap home. And it's rich given what we know about Wendy. With Gizelle, I think most of her income was probably child support and her Housewives check. I've said from the beginning, Ashley did not get a lot of money from Michael. I believe Ashley got that house and she might get a little bit of child support, but we saw her on TV sign a post-nup. We saw Michael strong arm her. That girl was so desperate to move back into her house, she signed a post-nup. We know Michael wasn't a fool. This idea that Ashley made out like a bandit in her divorce, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I do believe they are envious. That is the only thing that can explain why they want to have this silly narrative about Angel in this house. house and trying to find a house for $2,000. Like, make it make sense. My other issue, not with the women, but the editing. The editing was not the best. I have again watched the preview for the next episode. It's 5 minutes. It picks up right where episode 13 left off. And we see all women come upstairs. They all sit down. Angel says, put it out on the table. Wendy speaks up and Angel says, I paid $14,000 for my house. She gets upset. But then we just move on to doing yoga. So my issue with the editing is, and kind of what I'm thinking, I feel like more about this Angel eviction realtor storyline is going to come up later. And it felt like they left stuff out because we never see Ashley and Gizelle really weigh in on anything. They just let Wendy speak on the gossip she heard. They don't give a lot of details. So it just feels like something has to be missing if they went from that to doing yoga, because Angel was ready to kick them out. And I don't believe what they said could have been satisfactory enough for Angel to get over that. Like, it feels, the editing is weird. Something is off here. So they didn't even spend a lot of time on it. The preview was like a 5-minute preview. I think they spent like 3 minutes on this. I mean, it was very quick and it just felt very weird to go from them being so heated. They're all really heated. Gizelle and Angel were really heated to somehow this is resolved after what Wendy said. And now we're outside doing yoga. Like, something feels a little off here. Like, there's more to come on this topic. So my prediction is that this issue is not resolved. It's going to come up again. And the editors didn't show us everything in that scene because they want to keep that until it comes up as the season wraps up. Gizelle was big mad after not being invited to Angel's house in this most recent episode. And this episode did highlight 2 of Gizelle's biggest weaknesses as a housewife. The first is she's a hypocrite with no accountability. There are lots of women on the show that do nasty things. I'm not saying anyone has gone as low as Gizelle because she's definitely been in the gutter before, but a lot of housewives can own it. I love a villain that accepts that they're a villain. I love Keiarna because Keiarna never played any games about what she did. Keiarna owned it. She never was trying to act like what you did to me was worse than what I did to you. I get frustrated with Gizelle because she wants to act like I didn't do anything to you, which is what she said about Angel. What do you mean you didn't do anything to her? You done did something to everybody on this cast. Like, what do you mean you haven't done anything to her? You've done something to everybody on this cast. What do you mean you haven't done anything to her? Like, Gizelle saying that. And I think she believes that. That's the crazy thing. I think Gizelle believes I didn't do anything to you. Why are you trying to punish me with this room? It's crazy and it's hypocritical. And she just can never take, not even accountability, own it. Like, be prideful in it. If you're going to be a villain, be prideful in your villainy, which is why I love Keiarna and Tamara, because they own it. They're not going to shy away from their greatest hits. Whereas Gizelle wants to act like, what? And she did the exact same thing in the Monique sit down, which was my issue. She acted as if you did nasty things to me. I never went that low with you, Monique. And it's like, girl, do you turn your brain off when you film and then wipe your memory clean? Like, what is it? Crazy. It's like, girl, you don't recall any of this? Did somebody possess you in film and then unpossess you? I don't get it. So Gizelle was mad at Angel for doing what she does instead of meeting Angel at the moment and respecting Angel for it, because we've seen Gizelle be nasty many times on trips, many times. We saw Gizelle host a party and not let Wendy enter her home and have the party in her unpaved driveway instead. Gizelle should be able to relate to Angel being upset and just own what you do. Own your nastiness. Be prideful about it. Some people would argue that's your best quality and that's what's made you a 10-year housewife. But instead she wants to act like she's some innocent angel, and it's just frustrating. My second issue is Gizelle cannot read. Gizelle is not quick-witted. She's not good with the quips. She's not shady enough. Gizelle can never go toe-to-toe with someone verbally. Ever. We've seen her in so many situations get ate up, and it's embarrassing because sometimes she gets ate up by new housewives. And the scene with Monique with the whole binder thing, not the season 5 binder, I mean the binder in this episode, she didn't write anything about Stacey because she didn't have anything good to say. She left it blank to be, shady, but it's because she didn't have anything good, funny, or intelligent to say, so she didn't put anything. And that's why oftentimes when someone confronts Gizelle and is going at her, she's mute. She says nothing because Gizelle knows she can't keep up with some of these women when it comes to the verbal arguments. I'm not impressed by her I have nothing to say to you attitude, because to me, it's just that you're only doing that. You're opting out. You're disengaging because you know that you cannot keep up with some of these women. Whew, okay, so Angel is finally showing up. It only took 13 episodes, but she's here. Wendy is losing me a little. I'm not gonna lie. I have enjoyed her this season, but the closer she gets to Gizelle and Ashley, the more I'm like, I don't really know. Listen, it wasn't even the fraud charges. The fraud charges didn't turn me off, but her being close to Gizelle and Ashley is where I draw the line. This eviction lie that they got going, it's falling apart. I cannot wait to see how this is resolved and how the discussion goes about this at the reunion. And I'm hoping that Angel is ready and like gives it to the 3 of them, Wendy, Gizelle, and Ashley, because they know better. And this whole thing is silly to me. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I've been loving this season of Real Housewives of Potomac. I've enjoyed it.